Oh no.
Oh no, he's here!
Danganronpa.
Well, I guess it's time for the bear and his game.
Now that's comedy.
Oh boy, where to begin with this franchise? If you've seen the other videos, you had to have known this was gonna happen eventually. Danganronpa is a series where a group of students are trapped together, forced to kill each other to escape by this sadistic bear.
Are you sure about this?
It earned a very sizable fan base because there was the chance that your favorite character could be killed before the end of the game, and there weren't many others like this out there. Despite its modern looks, it's been almost 10 years since the first one was released. What started with some fan translations till it got localized on the Vita, now widely available on the PS4 and Steam. And how did I get into this series? No, I'm serious. This is how I got into my second favorite franchise ever. But because I didn't have a Vita at the time, I wasn't really gonna buy a whole console for some killing games, right? So I actually watched a Let's Play of these two games. However, when the spin-off pseudo-sequel was announced on the Vita, I'm like, okay, fine. I'll buy the Weeb machine to replay those two games in the lead-up. But let's just say, even though I love this series so much, replaying these spectacles makes it feel very different the second time around. So Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc starts off with our main character, Makoto Naegi, a student who is enrolling in the prestigious Hope's Peak Academy. And Makoto himself is an average boy with average skills and an average sex.
Alright already!
Now the point of the school is that they accept these kids dubbed the Ultimates, as in they are the best of the best in one talent. So you have the ultimate baseball star, the ultimate fashionista, and so on. Makoto, the average boy, was only picked from a lottery as the ultimate lucky student, and he accepted because the school is so prestigious that you are guaranteed success in the workplace when you graduate. But once he enters, all is not what it seems, as the walls shift and turn before he wakes up alone in a classroom. Confused, he stumbles out into the main hall to see... oh no, cosplayers.
Dun dun dun!
Or more accurately, these are the rest of the students at the academy, and this is where you can talk to them to learn a bit more about their personality and what their ultimate talent is. So in short, you got rich boy, bikey, model, J-pop, donuts, I mean swimmer, big titty goth GF, baseballer, writer, psychic, hacker, weeaboo, detective, martial artist, and moral compass? Yeah, some of these are odd for a Western audience. The game is very, very anime in its writing. The school is set in Japan, and these characters are ones who would fit very well in an anime. After the introductions, we then hear an ominous announcement on the PA system, and the class makes their way over to see... oh my goodness, it's Winnie the Pooh! So now begins the fun part, where this teddy bear who can walk and talk reveals himself to be Monokuma, the headmaster of the school, and that the reason we are all here, with the cameras and locked windows, is to participate in his killing game, where to escape, one student must kill another, and then at a class trial, the other students, if they all guess incorrectly on who the culprit is, the real killer gets to leave, while everyone else is executed. If they are correct, however, everyone survives and only the culprit is executed. And oh boy, it's such a crazy, shocking premise for a game, because even though they were just introduced themselves to each other, the bear is forcing them to kill one another if they want to escape. Naturally, some of the personalities don't agree with this sudden change, and Biker Boy grabs Monokuma. However, he's not a normal teddy bear, he's more like a robot. And that violence on the bear is against the rules. These rules are shown in the handbook each student has, and they often are used as evidence in each of the murder cases, since the students have to work within their boundaries. Monokuma then leaves, with all the students reeling at this information. How did we get here? Is anyone coming to save us? Do we really have to kill? Who's controlling the bear? What's on the other floors to the school? Surprisingly then, I guess because they're all meant to be the best of the best, the leader personalities rally everyone to stick together. Yeah, we can do this. We just have to survive and investigate the school. There has to be a way out, right? However, Makoto himself doesn't seem to care because the ultimate pop sensation Sayaka is talking and wanting to hang out with him. This is very common in visual novel games with a protagonist that talks, as they usually need someone to bounce ideas and dialogue off, and she becomes that character. So yeah, well, everything seems fine for now. The group organized to meet first thing every morning and then go about investigating each room. And gameplay wise, this involves you running in first person through the floor. It's a more unique and hands-on way compared to the other visual novels, but once you enter a room it becomes the usual point and click. Now Monokuma is a bear with a goal, and since that goal of having the students kill each other isn't coming true, he goes out of his way to provide motives for the students, something that will force one of them to snap and kill another for a chance to escape. And in this chapter, the motivations are videos of each student's families, with ominous imagery that something might not be right. Well, if you want to find out the truth, you gotta graduate, which means getting away with murder. Now before I continue the story, another mechanic that is briefly shown is the free time. So in between story segments, you get 1 or 2 times a day to pick whichever student you want, and you can then spend time with them. And depending on your answer related to their personality, you can grow closer to them. Now this isn't just for funsies, because depending on the ranks you obtain with them, Makoto gets abilities to use in the trial to make the sections a bit easier. There's also these mono coins you find and earn from how well you do in the trials, to then spend on this lottery sort of thing, where you can get presents to give the students during free time to rank up faster. So yeah, if you either want to know more about your favorite character, or get abilities to help the upcoming class trial, you really should pay attention to this. However, you can just sleep in bed if you want to roleplay an antisocial Makoto. Oh my goodness, I can't believe the checkout girl talked to me. I want to stay in bed forever. Now before I continue, I'm going to put a spoiler warning here, because to even talk about a major gameplay mechanic, being the whole trial debate, there are going to be spoilers in the footage, because it's kind of hard when it literally shows who died in the trial at all times. I do think the first trial is very well known, and it might help convince you if you aren't already, but if you still want to skip that, go to here where I talk about Danganronpa 2. Alrighty then. So most of the students are visibly shaken at what they saw on the videos, but think, it's just fake, right? Like CGI? Nothing bad can actually happen to our families, don't worry, don't worry. However, our little assistant, oh boy, guess on her video was something that was really frightening.
Why is this happening to me? To kill or be killed? I just can't take this anymore.
She pleads with Makoto, and he, the knight in shining armor, says he will do whatever he can to get her out of there. Monokuma, however...
Hey kid, your flagpole is showing.
Yeah, there are quite a few of these jokes in the game. So then at night we decide to go back to our room. However, I knock on the door and Sayaka is there, saying how she's too freaked out because someone tried to enter her room. Well, I guess you can sleep here and we will stay in your room. Makoto sleeps peacefully, waking up the next morning and heads to the kitchen for the daily group meetings. However, Sayaka isn't there. Maybe she's still back in your room. So Makoto rushes back and finds the room in an absolute mess. With the bathroom door wide open, he sees...
Bruh.
And thus begins the killing game. Makoto unconscious is then brought to the gymnasium with the others, as Monokuma now details the class trial rules. However, the ultimate fashionista ain't having none of Monokuma's murderous antics. Clean up in aisle 12. Okay, but seriously, to show he means business, another one of the students is now dead, meaning the rest finally realize this isn't a dream. 2 people are really dead, and if they want to save each other they have to get through this trial. So first is the investigation phase. We go around key interest areas and examine all suspicious objects, gathering truth bullets. Yes, this game is called Trigger Happy Havoc for a reason. Now Kyoko, who's the ultimate detective, becomes your assistant of sorts. Well, I mean technically you are her since she is the ultimate ultimate detective. I guess having one character be that helps since she explains all the forensic stuff. And for things like the autopsy report, well, Monokuma gives you a file that has all that info. Now when you've clicked on everything and gathered all possible truth bullets, Monokuma will say time's up, head to the class trial, which is held in this makeshift courtroom down below. Here is where you can equip those skills you collected from free time, or review the info before starting the trial. And the way it works is that through discussing the case with each other, you're meant to slowly unravel what happens during the murder. Now this is where the mini games come through. Some good, and others yuck. I guess it does add a bit of spice to the gameplay, to not just have you reading text, but honestly, some of them can be really tedious or incredibly hard to work out. But if you want to just read about the trial, there is an easier mode. I mean, come on dude, I just want to know who did it. Don't make me click on the colours. But the main mechanic in the trial is the non-stop debate, where the characters will say statements on one event during the murder you're trying to work out. This is where the truth bullets come in. So on these orange words you can fire your bullets to blast away their words, or i.e. it's saying you disagree with their statement. This then progresses the discussion further along. At the start it's quite easy, but later on you get multiple bullets, multiple orange words, or even the ability to absorb those words to use as your own bullets, which can make the game extremely challenging at times, because the cases themselves, well to me, I think the actual murder mysteries are extremely well written. Say what you want about the man's writing, on the character dialogue, or the overall plot, but the actual murder mysteries of most cases in the franchise are very well thought out for the most part. And as a murder mystery fan, it was great to work out through the first playthrough. Now other minigames include Bullet Time Battle, which is actually a rhythm minigame. And gee, you wonder why this is my second favourite franchise of all time. This then ends with a closing argument, where you have to place panels correctly on the comic to make the story flow. And yes, it's Japanese, it reads right to left. In this game it can be a bit confusing on what the panels mean, however I really love the art style they made for it. Then once done, Monokuma does his little dance and executes them in a manner fitting of their talent. Yeah, this definitely ain't humane. Get it? Cause he's a bear. Afterwards, you're ranked on how well you didn't stuff up Hangman's Gambit, and the group all console each other having witnessed another murder. So, well, that's great. At least now they can live happily together forever. No, of course not. More murders happen. Then that's pretty much how the game goes. Each case you get some free time to bond with the characters you like. Then Monokuma chucks in the motivation, a few days pass, then someone is found dead. You investigate, class trial, and see the murderer get executed. Now it doesn't feel formulaic at all, because each chapter the school opens up another floor, and in between you learn more about its mysteries, as to the nature of why you are trapped here. Me personally, why I love this game, is how small and compact it feels. This all takes place in one building, and the overall story plot isn't too far-fetched compared to the later games. And so here as well go to the game's ending, as it leads into stuff for Danganronpa 2. But if you don't want any spoilers, skip here to the sequel. I won't be spoiling the other cases, just the final one. So throughout the story, you and the others find that there was more to the school than meets the eye. Plus with the fake hilarious ending, a cup noodle sponsor, and the world's longest ladder, we also get one of the most well-known memes from the game.
Mukuro Ikusaba, the 16th student. Watch out for her.
You make it to the final floor and discover another body, but it's too badly damaged to work out who it is. However, Monokuma is like, nope.
Class trial time.
So it turns out there actually was another student here the whole time. And in the final trial with Monokuma, you work out to be that Junko Enoshima, you know, the fashionista, had a twin. And that twin is actually the dead body. And then Junko herself appears in all her despairiness. So this is the mastermind of the game, the one controlling Monokuma, who actually made her twin dress up as her in the beginning, and she was the one who got speared. And well, why did a crazy high school girl do all this? Despair. Yeah, so her motivations are not to take over the world or anything. She just wants to cause the emotion of despair to form in people, and will do anything to achieve that. She just really loves seeing despair in others. I guess that's why her talent is the ultimate despair. And throughout the trial we learn that the biggest, most awful, most longest sentence of event happened in the real world, where Junko herself triggered something in society, where despair exploded out, causing absolute evil in everyone. Yes, I don't know how she can do do that. And yes, it's very anime. Then will the survivors learn here that they actually were at the school way back, but were knocked out and had their memories stolen, which is what happened at the start. I know it sounds a whole lot of crazy, but eventually we find out and determine that Junko is her sister's killer. And well, she loves despair, so lets herself be executed. Meaning she's dead. Like, dead. Never coming back. And thus we finally get the key to unlock the front and step outside, where the game ends. So yeah, as a standalone game, I really like how the story played out. Sure, it's a bit contrived, but at least it fits into the narrative. And what's out there? Well, apparently a chaotic world full of despair. But we are only left with the clinging words that Makoto will fill the world with hope, because he's the ultimate hope or something. But yeah, that technically isn't the end of the game, because afterwards you get the school life mode. Essentially, it's a way to level up your free time to talk and learn about the other characters you never got to in the main game. This is coupled with a small micromanaging mechanic where every day you have the students search for items, clean or rest, to find materials to make what Monokuma wants that week. The premise is actually kind of amusing, because Monokuma is like, wait a minute, all my machine clones aren't ready. Can you like help me make them? Then once you're done, I'll knock you out and we'll start the game officially. And yeah, that's Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, an explosive start to the beloved series, offering a unique murder mystery with a killing game twist to players who haven't experienced this kind of thing before. Now there are still some things I want to say on it, but that will have to wait till we talk about the sequel, Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair.
We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Now Danganronpa 2 is interesting in that, if you ask the overall fanbase, most would say that this is their favourite Danganronpa game, and at the time it definitely was mine as well. They built a solid foundation of how the series would play out in the first one, and with its success in the sequel, they go absolutely crazy on this relaxing island? Huh? Okay, so the game starts off very differently with this new group of students, and the headmaster being a white talking bunny,
That isn't this one?
now on a tropical island, and it's very laid back. The bunny says how this is a school field trip, and don't worry as to why you can't remember anything, the point is to make friends with each other and gather hope fragments. Now the main protagonist is Hajime Hinata, and he is very different to Makoto. For one, he actually doesn't know his talent or why he's even at the school, and secondly, his personality is so much more forward. He questions everything, is more aggressive. Yes, he's the Chad protagonist in the franchise. So straight up, you notice how different and clean the UI is? The game is a vast improvement on the previous one. Despite visually being the same graphics, they add more effects, transitions, and the presentation just feels clean. Now with a new cast, you meet and greet them, with the first one being the meme you've probably seen before, becoming a trope in so many JRPGs.
Are you okay?
This is Nagito. Although if you've been online for like a month, you should have known him from somewhere. He's the ultimate lucky student, just like Makoto, also voiced by him. And if you play the game, you'll definitely see why he's a fan favorite. So the way the setting is structured is that the place is 5 islands connected to a middle one, and you can run left or right to reach each area. By the way, you can press a button to instantly travel. But if you do like seeing him flail about, the game rewards you with a Tamagotchi, I mean pet. So yeah, you gotta hatch this little thing, and every step you take makes it grow. The point of it is to help you level up this thing, which also can go up by talking and clicking on objects. These levels then give you points to equip more abilities for the class trials. For the first time around it's kinda neat, but replaying it, I didn't really have much use of it on the lower difficulties. So then Nagito becomes your assistant in the game, and you run around the island talking to others. This time around you have a chubby rich guy, gymnast who looks nothing like a gymnast, angry shorty, Hamtaro man, smug shorty, best girl, best boy, photography is my passion, clumsy nurse, constipation, sword girl, pervert chef, princess, and the other fan favorite, Chiaki.
I'm Chiaki Nanami, the ultimate gamer. Video games are my hobby, and I'm a fan of all genres.
You can see why she's a fan favorite.
Gamer.
So while running around, you see that everyone is pretty chill with this place, even going for a swim. Hajime, however, is still very suspicious of this whole ordeal, but the very thick waves call out to him, and he jumps on in, when suddenly the sky darkens, and on the TV screens, a familiar face appears.
Surprised? You were totally surprised!
Oh boy, this can't be good. So rushing over to the middle island, we see that Monokuma is here, much to the shock of the bunny. They do a little battle, but the bear is too strong. I mean, have you seen his firepower? He breaks her magic wand and turns her into a bear, dubbing her Monomi his sister. And well, because Monokuma is here, this means another killing game is about to begin. Now, Goodbye Despair is very similar to the first one, with the students all worried but the leader comes in calming everyone down, but you know that ain't gonna work. So the days go by and like DR1, you get a whole lot of free time to bond with the students to get abilities to use in the trials. Then as usual, Monokuma begins his motivation, which this time is a bomb that will go off if no one kills another. It's a bit more straightforward, eh? Worried that something might happen, the big boy calls everyone to a dinner party, or i.e. a place where he can monitor everyone and there will be witnesses everywhere in case something happens. And before something does happen, if you want to skip the big spoilers, go to here in the video, where I talk about other things on both games. Well then, the party gets underway.
Kill the lights!
And the rich boy cries out in pain. But when the lights go on, everything seems fine, till the faint smell of blood comes in, with them checking under the tables, and their fearless leader now dead. The one character who was organizing and guiding them through the game, now gone. So then of course begins the investigation as Hajime inspects all around the building, gathering those truth bullets. Then like the first game, Monokuma gathers us in the courtroom, where the same sort of minigames come back. But you know that Hangman's Gambit that everyone hated from the first one? Well, they definitely heard the criticism, with this one literally being called Improved Hangman's Gambit. And yep, it's way easier. Also returning is the rhythm minigame, although this time I actually found it a bit harder with a curved bar. Then you also have this samurai cutting game where someone interrupts you and you gotta cut through their words or something. But brand new here, in the second case, is the one called the Logic Dive. This is where Hajime literally opens his mind or something and has to think his way through the problem. You can accelerate, turn and jump, while questions are asked, making you move him to a path with the answer. It's way more hands-on than any of the other ones before, and it can be a bit tedious with how long some stretches are. So yeah, everything else is pretty much the same. However, in the debates, you now have this feature with the blue words, meaning when you shoot the truth bullet, Hajime is agreeing with the statement. I love this addition a lot because it makes it feel like a discussion between the students, and not just Chad MC solving everything. Then after you work out who done it, you get the same comic book solving, although this time it's much easier, as it's more apparent what's happening in the panels. Then Monokuma goes and executes the culprit. Now, like with the first game, I also want to touch upon the finale here, as yes, it does lead into the other games, even more so. So skip to this part if you want to avoid the whole story spoilsies. Okay, so you know how Junko is dead from the first game?
Well, that's a lie.
In Goodbye Despair, each case takes place on one of the islands, with more murders and class trials. Now, I won't spoil the fifth case, but I just want to mention how I think it's my favourite, with how absolutely insane the final twist is. But we reach chapter 6, and the game starts to be a bit more glitchy. Oh, that was here and there throughout the game, but now the world seems to be falling apart. Monokuma goes to the group, well kiddos, you all made it, but I'm kinda worried if you can readjust back into society. So how about you research the outside world, and then you can decide if you want to stay or leave the island. Then when the trial begins, in a very unique sort of place, we get a visit from Mr. Average himself, as it seems like, well, the entire world is fake. It was all just a game.
Then we were forced to kill each other.
'Cause it's a game!
A lot of crazy shit happened.
'Cause it's a game!
We're the only people here.
'Cause it's a game!
Monokuma's nonsensical abilities.
'Cause it's a game!
So the students actually are in pods in the real world, meaning this is sort of a virtual reality. Everything that happened wasn't real. Well, except the dying. Anyone who died is now in a coma in the real world. And Makoto is here as part of the Future Foundation. As with the other survivors from the first game, they aim to fight against despair in the world. So yeah, it's kind of like a war out there, supposedly. Now Monokuma begins to shonen transform into this giant Junko Enoshima. She technically is still dead, this is just a program of her. I mean, they They made it seem like she's the big bad of everything in this world, so I guess they had to do something to bring her back as the final boss. However, she reveals to the group about the remnants of despair. So after her death, some of her followers went crazy and caused more despair through the world, and these followers are the group in the second game. The reason they are in the virtual world is because Makoto found them and sort of wanted to rehabilitate them. They were to nicely make friends and learn how to be good people again, which is why it was so calm at the start. And Monomi and Chiaki actually were just AI programs to help facilitate that. But then Monokuma and Junko sort of ruined that by somehow existing through the programming. So then in the final case, Hajime goes full Super Saiyan because sure, why not? And they defeat virtual Junko, erasing her from the program. The three leave and the survivors say they wish to stay in the virtual world to find some way to help their coma buddies. And the game ends with Hajime somehow looking upon the boat that houses the comatose buddies, meaning he somehow got out. Then the game ends. So yeah, that was a mess, and I did leave quite a bit out that's a bit more crazier. Now I have said this before, I really don't like how the game handles the overarching story from this one. As a standalone in one, it worked, but it kind of felt like they needed something to house this whole killing game, and me personally, I just think it's a bit too convoluted. But one thing I really like about this is that it started the trend of trying to outdo the first one in every aspect. The fake out at the start, the fact the whole thing is a virtual world. They realized the same murder mystery killing game wouldn't work as well, so they went about subverting everyone's expectations. But just like the first game, there was still more to this afterwards, with this Monomi mode, where in the battle it sort of pretends that what happened if Monomi had won, meaning Monokuma and Junko are defeated, letting the bunny and the students to continue with their fun resort trip. Or i.e. it's the exact same cleaning thing to get all the dialogue between the characters among other things. And also, since they know you love reading, there's a novel included called Danganronpa If, which takes place in the first game, and sorta a what if novel where that person who's dressed up as someone else instead shows affection to Makoto, all the while using the backgrounds in that game. It isn't voiced to anything, but I guess, hey, they sure do love their non-canon stories. They also then added this other mode where you control Monomi in sort of an action game where you must wrap around enemies to defeat them. It's very, very, very basic, but hey, I guess it's something extra if you want. And as to the story's future, well, this is where the spin-off comes in, which aims to show what the horror of having a despair-filled world is, because for a while after this game, no one knew where the series was going to go, and before its release it felt good knowing that they were going to make a whole game to explain the outside situation. But we'll save that for its own video, as well as the big boy of B3. Now to other aspects of these two games, and I gotta say, the second one is miles better than the first in most things. Also, another thing I forgot to mention is that when you walk around and you see the characters, they do that meme pose but are still 2D images, and when you rotate they actually follow your eyes so you can't see the flat side of them. It's such a cool way to present these characters in this 3D environment. Goodbye Despair also has a way more fun moments, as in these little optional and non-optional cutscenes of the characters messing about, adding to that relaxing vacation vibe. Some can be but others can be so wholesome, I love it. Then to the character designs, and they are so much more brighter and lively, as opposed to the muted dark ones from the first game. I can honestly see why. Two of the franchise's favourites are from this game. The characters themselves are more fun, which does reflect the tone of being on a tropical resort. Also, for both games, I love how many sprites there are for all the characters, and how different each expression is. This game has such a unique character design, and no other game will give you this kind of aesthetic. Then to the music, and if you've watched any of my videos, this composer is up there as one of my all-time favorites. I absolutely love so many songs from both games and listen to them constantly. They have that mixture of electronic but eerie tones, with the second game throwing in way more tropical sounding music. They don't sound like any other game's OST, which is kinda why Cyber Sleuth's one was so noticeable, because I'm like, dude, this is literally your Danganronpa music. I really can't stress how much I love this franchise's OST. Now another amazing aspect of this game, mind you it came out years before Somnium, is that the class trials are completely dubbed in English and Japanese. And not just that, because in other sections, it's sort of similar to the older Fire Emblems where they say one word like, "Whoa, no way." Even though the text is some big sentence, there's a lot of voice lines for each of the characters. And to me, this is one of my favorite English cast in a series, with Monokuma easily being a standout.
And don't forget to save regularly.
Well then, there's still one thing that's sort of a negative with these games, and that's the writing. A lot of people clearly point out this game doesn't have the best writing. Now I'm not sure if it's due to how it's localized or whatever, but the end product is that you have tons of very anime styled writing tropes to pop culture references, and plenty, and I mean plenty of fourth wall breaks. Now I'm someone who loves all these kind of things, but yes, I will admit, some of them can be really dumb. I guess it does play into those reality TV shows that are so popular. You're playing a game where the students have to kill each other to survive, and I guess the writing can match that cheesy reality TV show feeling, which could also explain why the series is so popular. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just noticeable when you compare this game's writing to others in the genre. However, as to the murder mysteries themselves, they are some of the best around, which then leads to a problem, which is related to the title of the video. These games are absolutely amazing on your first playthrough. The shock of being locked together, trapped on an island, a murderous bear telling you to kill each other, the plot twist of the actual murders, who are the victims and murderers. It's amazing when you play or watch a let's play of it for the first time, which is what I did since I didn't have a Vita. So then when I bought the games to replay them in the lead up to the spin-off, well, I mean, I knew everything that was gonna happen. All the twists, the fake outs, the victims, the murderers, how they did it. If I had a favorite character, I knew when they were gonna be snatched away. A lot of how the game works is built up on this shock value, and the second playthrough removed a lot of that from it. I mean, for reality TV, I don't think many people rewatch a season, they move on to the next one, which is why the shows can keep going. Now don't get me wrong, I still absolutely love these games, but I still can't emulate that feeling I got watching that let's play, freaking out when the camera panned down to show who died. There is just something about the initial playthrough of these games that can't be repeated. So if you decide to play the games, just make sure you try and avoid as many spoilers as you can. It's my second favorite franchise for a reason, and I highly recommend it if you love murder mysteries. And if you're out there typing right now, oh wait, isn't there an anime? What? Can I watch the anime instead? How about no? Please, no. It's only 12 episodes, meaning you have no time for the cases to develop, leading to a very, very rushed feeling. So then, what's next for Danganronpa? Well, there's that spin-off sequel, sorta, plus an actual sequel anime. Then finally, the best game in the franchise for me, V3. I actually only played these once though, so I want to replay them before I make a video on them, to see if there's any difference in the feelings I get with these two. Oh yeah, by the way, Monokuma, seriously, please chill on those anime references. Oh, that one. Oh yeah, the very generic one. Oh yeah, they seriously can't do another one.
Jeez!
Trojan, RamZaes, Magnum, Sheik!